Thanks, Sarah. So I unmuted in advance because there's that danger that you just can't get yourself unmuted, isn't there? Thank you, Sarah. Welcome to everybody to the second in our Brexit or preparing for Brexit series, as we're really kind of getting into the nitty-gritty of the final few days. It's I mean, this time last year, we were 2 weeks past what we thought was going to be our Brexit date, and there's been an awful lot of Brexit talk, so we're counting down, obviously, but this is the second in our series, and we've already run a session which was about the people side of Brexit and how that impacts on your business, whether it's about recruitment or employing people that are you need to think about how the Brexit will impact them. And this evening is obviously about e-commerce, and then the last in our series is going to be about intellectual property. So a number of you will be here for the whole series, but some people are kind of just coming into sessions that suit them. So if you've not yet signed up for the intellectual property one, that will definitely be worth you kind of taking the time to come along and listen to. The Chamber's doing a number of webinars, and I actually can't quite believe how close it's getting to Christmas, but we've got plenty coming up. In fact, we were just talking about how we do some social things in December and kind of try and forget that actually, you're not able to get out and about and see people as much. So we will be doing some social things and encouraging some networking as well. So plenty going on before Christmas time, before we all get our break. But what I'm going to do is just introduce our webinar speaker to you. So Lauren Miller is going to tell us all about Business Gateway and why they're sponsoring the session. So Lauren, if you want to unmute yourself, and when I can hear you, I'll get out your way.
Okay, that should be me unmuted. Phew. Good evening, everybody. Firstly, thanks to Alison and the team at the Chamber for the opportunity to sponsor this event tonight. With 45 days until we leave the EU, I know you're all super keen to hear from James tonight. However, I would just like to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about Business Gateway and the service that we offer and how we can potentially support you and your business at this time. So for those of you that I've not had the pleasure of meeting yet, my name's Lauren Miller and I'm one of the business advisors here at Business Gateway Tayside. I'll pop my contact details into the chat unless super efficient Sarah has already done that for me. But please do get in touch. If there's anything that we can help with to support you, whether it be Brexit related, COVID-19 related, or you just want to hear a little bit more about the business support that's available. So I'm relatively new to Business Gateway Tayside. I've been in the role for just over a year now, and prior to that I was a tax advisor for nearly 20 years, working for the last 13 years at Johnston Carmichael Chartered Accountants. I really wish that I'd known the business support that's available out there when I worked at Johnston Carmichael. And even now when I speak to businesses, and I only work exclusively with businesses that have been trading for at least a year, they're often surprised at the business support that's available out there, much of which is fully funded and available at no cost to you. So I think if I was to stop someone in the street and ask them, what does Business Gateway do? Many people would probably say, oh, it's for, they want to help people start up a business. And they do loads of workshops for people who start businesses. And that is essentially our sort of startup service. But what a lot of people don't know is that we do actually support existing businesses as well. Many recently who've obviously been affected by the challenges that COVID-19 has brought along, as well as those who have aspirations to grow from mid-growth right the way through to rapid high growth. And in addition to that, we also have a sort of pipeline service, that I would call it, for those businesses that are looking to access Scottish enterprise support. So each of those services that I've spoken about there, they all have kind of the same benefits, with the slight exception of the startup service. But all businesses can have their own nominated business advisor. That may be me if you're lucky enough. And we can sort of prepare an action plan of the things that we can work together on for sort of 12 to 18 months, say. And that action plan may be things like looking at funding opportunities or supporting you with funding applications. It may be paying for one of our external consultants to work with you and your business on a one-to-one basis. So for example, we have Jane Milroy is our international advisor. where you can potentially work with her on a one-to-one basis about internationalising your business. And we also have other experts in areas such as growth strategy, marketing. We have a lawyer on board as well, and a photographer as well, which is quite interesting. So keeping very busy at the moment is our in-house HR advisor. So you can access her advice at no cost, and she has been very busy recently around furlough leave, supporting businesses to retain jobs where possible. But she can also look at things like contracts of employment, policies and procedures, and employee handbooks, and all that exciting stuff. So as many business owners are looking to rework their business models at this time, it's come as quite a surprise to many of the clients that I've been working with that they can access the Business Gateway Research Service at no cost. So this is a team of researchers who can provide things like market research reports, company reports for UK and international companies. They do credit checks, provide you with news and articles on any sectors, statistics, demographics. Fill your boots is what I would say. And I actually had one client say to me recently that this service was just too good to be true. And he was using it to obtain, a list of potential clients for him to target, a list of who his competitors were so he could see what they were up to. And he was also looking for news and articles on his sector so that he could produce engaging social media content. It is a great service that I think is totally underutilised and really saves you a bit of time trawling on Google. The other part of what Business Gateway do is really introducing businesses to the ecosystem. So that might be, a health and safety advisor with the likes of Healthy Working Lives. We're developing the young workforce about apprenticeships, skills development Scotland for the sort of 3-day paid, fully paid consultancy that they offer, looking at sort of skills in the business and identifying the skills gaps, and also the chamber that we work closely with as well. And all of these organisations, or most of them that I've spoken about, they are all fully funded, meaning you can access them at no cost. So that's just a flavour of what's available at Business Gateway. As I said, I'd be absolutely delighted to have a chat with anyone looking to understand what business support's available out there. As I say, Sarah probably has popped my details in the chat, and if she hasn't, I'll do it myself. But yeah, I'd love to have a chat with anyone, and I've always got the virtual kettle on, so please feel free to drop me an email. Thank you very much for that opportunity, and hopefully our virtual paths will cross very soon. Thank you. I'll hand back to Alison now.
Thanks, Lauren. That was really great. So it's my pleasure to introduce our speaker tonight. So e-commerce is what we're going to talk about, and I'm just going to make him blush and read from the bio that was on our website. But James first connected with the Chamber, I think, through Prince's Youth Business Trust, or whatever combination of P's and Y's and B's and T's that organisation was connected with. But James is a tech entrepreneur at heart and founded his agency in 2014. And it's very much focused on digital technology, international digital marketing, and has a real specialism within the Chinese marketplace. And James has spoken at a number of our events and a number of Scottish Enterprise, Scottish Development International events, and really understands the e-commerce marketplace, particularly with an international flavour on. We've also been very lucky to have had James on our board at the Chamber for a number of years, and he's currently our president. So poor James gets away with nothing and is volunteered to lots, which we very much appreciate. So James, I'm going to hand over to you, and then I'll come back on at the end and we'll be able to take some questions. So over to you.
Brilliant, thanks.
Thank you.
I'll just share my slides in a sec. It's not, let me just see. For some reason it's not letting me share the screen, and I don't know why that's happening, but let me just, there we go. Can you see it?
Yep.
Yeah, that's it there, James.
All good. Brilliant. Okay, great. So yeah, thanks for the introduction, Alison, and pleasure to speak today. I guess today I'm not going to pretend to be an expert about Brexit, and I don't think many people are these days, but I do a lot of international e-commerce webinars for the likes of Scottish Enterprise. So that and the combination of what we know about as a company collectively about e-commerce hopefully can provide some guidance. I didn't want to just focus on the potential negatives, so I've also tried to outline some opportunities as well that might come from Brexit and internationalisation of the UK as well. So just to introduce myself, first of all, as Alison mentioned, I co-founded Zudu in 2014. We provide web and app development and digital marketing mainly for UK-based clients, and also we have a particular specialism on the Chinese marketplace as well. So we help clients in the UK reach Chinese consumers through e-commerce and marketing and a connection of kind of online and offline solutions. I've also co-founded a software as a service company called Talbase, and that's a piece of recruitment software that does avatar-led interviewing, all designed to remove bias from the hiring process. And I'm also president of the Dundee and Angus Chamber of Commerce as well. So today I'm just going to outline the agenda briefly. So just going to go through quickly the current situation of Brexit, which I'm sure you're all aware of, looking at the potential impacts on businesses for Brexit, looking at how to prepare your e-commerce business for Brexit, then looking at some global stats, looking at other markets as well across the world, and also giving some advice on types of e-commerce platforms and also some tips if you want to set up your own e-commerce as well. So first of all, I guess looking at the current situation, we've left the EU. So as of January 2020, the UK officially left the EU, and we're in the transition period right now. So that period ends in January 2021. So we had a year to negotiate an agreement. So there's now 45 days to go until an either deal or no deal Brexit scenario. And it seems like they're still negotiating. So I think with regards to border controls, logistics, freedom of movement, tariffs, all that is quite up in the air at the moment. So it's very hard to put a pin on what is or is not going to happen and how that's going to specifically affect and impact businesses. So that's a bit up in the air. Unfortunately, we don't know too much about it at the moment. We can only predict what might happen. And also, I think the best thing to do for businesses as well is prepare as we go into the Brexit scenario. So as I mentioned, 45 days to go, and in there will be new rules that come into effect for businesses and citizens as well come 1st of January 2021. So your business, your family, your personal circumstances will ultimately be affected by what happens in Brexit. And the HMRC website, they have some helpful guidance, some forms, questionnaires that you can go and fill in as there's also the business gateway, as Laura mentioned. And you can also sign up for, and we've signed up for HMRC updates as well through the HMRC website. So it's useful to sign up for the emails as and when the new rules and regulations and updates and advice comes into effect. Then you'll be the first person to hear about it through the HMRC website. So looking at the potential impacts of Brexit, first of all, one of the biggest impacts, which impacts any e-commerce business that trade, or any business that trades with the EU, is looking at customs. So the UK has had to, will have to develop, and I'm not sure how far along the line they are yet on developing their own customs process. And also on that as well, there won't be the UK won't be part of the single market, so there won't be any open borders. So that will impact trade between the UK and the EU, and then there might be stricter customs regulations on, for example, parcels. If you're an e-commerce business delivering products to Europe, there might be stricter rules on what goes through, what doesn't go through, and also how long that takes. So looking at the shipping times as well, that's a scenario where you might expect, as an e-commerce business, there would be impacts to those products getting delivered to market. And we've seen impacts such as that on our clients with the effects of coronavirus. So when coronavirus first hit, there was impacts on getting products abroad, or importing products as well to the UK from places like China, and that caused big problems with manufacturing of particular items, and the supply chain across the whole world was affected quite heavily by that. And so yeah, that's really something to think about. So with your current shipping times, you want to think about that with regards to your e-commerce business, and that will impact both ways as well. So not just the exporting side of things, but also the importing side of things. So the third thing there is tariffs. So they're likely to be different tariffs across products and product categories and industries. The expectation there is that it will ultimately create a bit of a pricing war, a bit of a trading war between the UK and the EU, as they are still negotiating certain areas where tariffs can be increased or decreased to give them a slight competitive edge over one another. And what the UK is trying to bargain at the moment is effectively a better position to trade, not just with the EU, but with other markets around the world as well. And the EU is mostly concerned about protecting the fact that they are a trading bloc in their own right, and they want to protect the interests of the countries within the European Union. So also I would expect VAT changes to happen as well. At the moment, VAT is an EU-wide controlled entity, or tax, value-added tax, and that is likely to change. It's been one of the major areas of contention at the moment with the negotiations that they're having at the moment. So if the UK then leaves the EU on a no-deal Brexit, then what you're likely to have is that you're in a scenario where you're not obligated to collect any VAT on sales to the EU. So that could be a positive, but then you're also not going to be protected by the VAT refund system that's currently in place. So that's something to watch out for and be aware of as well, particularly if you're trading during that crossover period. So it's worth touching on COVID-19 as well, and I'm trying to turn this into a bit of a positive scenario as well for e-commerce businesses. And with the effects of COVID-19, it's not just had negative impacts on businesses. There's also been some areas that have really thrived, and also some technological innovations that have really thrived throughout COVID-19, or also been accelerated as people need to switch to online modes of purchasing effectively. So if you look at some of these stats here, 56% of consumers say they're shopping more online than they did before COVID-19. At the moment, we're on a webinar, and many individuals might not have attended webinars in the past. I certainly didn't attend as many as I do now. So to society, and also those, that as the society goes along that innovation curve, the whole market's adopted these technologies and become increasingly digitally aware as well. And that's impacted e-commerce. So more and more people are shopping online. Amazon had a 40% year-on-year increase in Q2 this year-on-year, and also we've seen bricks and mortar businesses, they've really suffered, and going into Christmas this year as well. I think we're only at the edge of what is likely to happen over the next few months as some of these businesses, bricks and mortar businesses, really suffer without the effects of Christmas. So now we're seeing even the older generation as well. More and more people are shopping online, and even the older, more reluctant generation to go online are now shopping online as well. So there's a big growth in the 65 and older generation. And looking at kind of what's driven e-commerce globally, that's really been a rise in demand for global products. So anywhere in the world you can purchase products online, and that also means that Scottish businesses as well, they can sell anywhere in the world, and no longer do you have to be constrained to selling locally or selling within the UK or even the EU. You can sell your products globally, and there's lots of different platforms out there to allow you to do that. There's also low barriers to entry, and they're decreasing all the time, as well as businesses can get online much easier than they used to. There's platforms to allow companies to set up their own e-commerce, and also then trade globally with logistics companies, for example. And online, you've got an unlimited or almost unlimited audience reach. As you become a e-commerce business, you can trade almost anywhere in the world, and also have visibility anywhere in the world with quite low operational costs as well. And all over the world, there's increasing internet penetration, as well as more of the global society becomes online with more connectivity and faster connectivity as well. So looking at how to prepare your e-commerce business for Brexit, the EU e-commerce industry, just looking at some stats here. So the revenue in the e-commerce market in 2019 was 3.53 trillion. So it's a huge marketplace. And of that, that's the global market value of revenue in e-commerce. and the European e-commerce worth is 17.7 or 717 billion, and that's increased by 12.7% in comparison with 2019. So the e-commerce market is still growing, and it's growing year on year, even with the current pandemic, and that's allowing companies to trade globally and also with the EU. So I wouldn't, as any e-commerce business, I wouldn't say that you should be held back by the impacts of Brexit, and the opportunity is still there for companies to trade online. So looking at a post-Brexit e-commerce environment, I think these are some of the main things you might want to be aware of. So first of all, logistics. First, whether you're selling to the EU or getting supplies from the EU. Now you really want to be thinking right now about how you fulfill those logistics. I think the best protocol is to go to really your courier or your logistics company there to first of all ask them what their situation is with regards to delivery. So they'll be the closest to that scenario, and also it will impact them first and foremost, and they should be able to advise your company on what to do with regards to logistics. With regards to suppliers, the EU is the UK's biggest trading partner, and it will be post Brexit. So that could prove problematic for many companies, and you might end up finding out that there's some red tape involved in your marketplace. And really what we need to find out are how these new regulations affect certain product categories. So I'd keep your ears to the ground, try and stay as close as possible to the outcomes of the negotiation and how that affects your product and industry. And also you want to keep on watching that Brexit deadline, and make sure that you have enough time to buy necessary supplies or supply to your suppliers in time for that key Brexit date. In terms of your customers, so really the key here is communication. So you want to be keeping your customers informed, and you want to make sure that customers will be in an area of uncertainty as well. So you want to keep them informed about any potential changes to products in terms of pricing, or you might want to put up banners on your website or your email footers, or update your eBay listings. There's lots of things that you can do just to make sure that your customers, if you've got a big customer base in the EU, are prepared, or maybe you're supplying to customers in the UK and you're reliant on supplies coming from Europe as well. You want to be as prepared as possible for that. Also, you want to know your costs. So the big element there is currency fluctuation. So we don't really know which direction the pound's going to go. A lot of people are predicting that it will devalue. So actually, the price of the pound will go down against other markets. So that could then mean that UK products become cheaper, which could be beneficial for other markets. but it will also mean that the purchasing power of what you have. So if you're buying products from other markets, they could then become more expensive in that instance. So you want to be geared up to adapt for that volatility, particularly with regards to the currency fluctuation. And also, I think the main thing there is just be ready to adapt. I think the survivors are the ones that are most responsive to change, and really what you want to be prepared for as a business is to adapt as quickly as possible. I think a lot of us are used to that, maybe with what's happened with COVID-19. And but it's just emphasizing that fact even more with Brexit, and be prepared to adapt as a business and react to that environment as quickly as possible. So in terms of just looking at these 5 steps for preparing for Brexit, as an e-commerce business, you want to be looking at updating your policies. So you might have shipping and tariff policies, and you want to be prepared to update them and make sure they're updated to the latest regulations as well. And you also want to be checking on suppliers. So you might have suppliers from the EU, or you might even be supplying to the EU. And you want to then make sure that all your options are explored with regards to where you can supply your product from. You might have inventory or warehouses in the EU, so you might want to consider then moving them closer to home. And it's worth looking at your suppliers as a business. So the other tip there is to sell outside of the UK and the EU. So you're not only going to it's not only going to impact the selling locally. So you might have an increase in demand locally, and we saw that increase as well with COVID-19. But what I'm really excited about, if there's any kind of positives to take out of this, is the fact that UK will become a more outward looking market, and we've already had free trade agreements with the likes of Japan, and I've seen impacts as well on the presentations that we've done and some overseas virtual trade missions as well. There's already been an opening up of business to be had from places like Japan, and I'm personally really excited about what impact that could have on the UK doing business with other markets outside the EU as well. I think the other thing there, importantly, is to stay informed. As I said, you can sign up to HMRC website for updates. You also want to be keeping tabs on Brexit news. A little tip there might be to set up some Google alerts. It's quite an easy thing to do, and they can send you daily updates on any news that comes through from Brexit. And if I was an e-commerce business trading with the EU, or I had my suppliers in the base in the EU market, I would be certainly wanting to keep up to date with the latest news that comes from the negotiation table. So finally, I think you want to definitely keep your currency options open. So the Britain doesn't use the euro, so that's a positive. Because that would be an even bigger nightmare for leaving the EU. But So that's a positive, but you want to make sure that your e-commerce site has multiple currency options, so including pounds, euros, US dollars. So, if you have numerous currency options on your website, you can hedge against any Brexit-induced confusion that might happen, and accommodate your customers as well, who come from the EU as well. So that's really something to stay on top of. And you can also look at optimizing that checkout process as well for more of a global audience. So we've had customers adding flags to and country drop downs, or aiming to make their site accessible for certain markets across the world. So yeah, options such as that. And now would be a good time to invest in that globalized option for your e-commerce business, and really start thinking about if the EU is a big market, or maybe if it's not, you want to be thinking about the global options for your business as well. So on that topic, I'll go into a few stats about different markets across the world in terms of how you can sell your products to, and what are the biggest e-commerce markets. So the main categories that e-commerce businesses sell their products to are really business to business, or business B2C, or B2G, which is business to government. And all these have particular digital platforms as well to account for, to allow companies to trade in that format. And in terms of shopper spending, this is the shopper spending by revenue in US dollars. So you can see some surprising stats in there as well, looking at Norway, Denmark, Australia, or Austria, sorry. So these are this is the average shopper spending in each of these markets. So this can also give you an indication. Obviously, the USA is a big portion of that, so it's a good market to go after. But there's other markets there that you might want to consider as well. Also, looking at the largest markets by revenue, China is the biggest e-commerce market in the world. That's one of the reasons why we chose to focus on it as a business. So it's a big opportunity for businesses across the world to focus on China, and they're very technically aware as well. So they have lots of innovative e-commerce channels and methods to reach people. USA as well is obviously a big player there, but looking at the third position there, Japan, UK's just done a big trade deal with Japan, so it's opened up a big opportunity for businesses to start thinking about that market. And there's several trade missions as well that are happening with Japan at the moment, so it's worth looking into. The top 5 markets by total number of online shoppers, again, China tops the mark there, and you've got countries like India as well, with a massive population, and also there's lots of trade missions going on with markets like India. And looking at the number of shoppers as a percentage of population, you've got markets like Sweden, Korea, the Dundee and Angus Chamber of Commerce has a very close relationship with Sweden, so it's good to see them in the mix there, and certainly these kind of stats as a business, you could look at these as part of a global strategy and really start applying it to your business. So I'm aware that I'm probably running out of time, so I've got quite a number of slides to go through. So I'm more than happy to connect with anyone offline as well and offer any guidance I can. But I'll quickly go through these next couple of slides, and then I'll kind of hand it over for questions. I would say as well, I do e-commerce webinars as part of Scottish Enterprise. It's a 3-year program that they put together, working with e-commerce experts and marketing experts all over Scotland, and ranging from a whole load of different topics. So if you go on the Scottish Enterprise events page, you should see all the e-commerce and webinars that are coming up. Just touching on some figures there. So looking at number of cross-border online shoppers, China again, they have a big preference for foreign products, foreign imported products, and you've got other key players in there: USA, India, even likes of Russia and Mexico. And you've also got cross-border e-commerce by a percentage of overall online spend. Some surprising players in there, such as Portugal and Latvia. So, and this is quite interesting as well in terms of your top 5 countries in terms of growth from 2018 to 22. And India is obviously a big player there. And the Southeast Asia region actually represents the biggest opportunity for international brands across the world. So it's home to over 350 million online shoppers, and these markets as well, they haven't yet been saturated by all the international retail players, unlike places like China or Japan. So yeah, that's some opportunities to think about. And I could rant on for a lot longer. I've got many more slides as well, but I hope you found it useful. And again, I don't claim to be any Brexit expert, certainly, but I have worked, I do work with a number of e-commerce businesses, so I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, James. So it doesn't look. Oh, now I'm getting an echo. Is that any better? No, I'm still getting an echo. It's only just me that can hear myself twice. Oh, there you go, James. Thank you.
It's coming through on James's computer. So sorry to meet you, James.
This is going to be very awkward for answering questions, James, isn't it? I was just going to say there doesn't look like there's any specific questions, so I might have one to kind of kick us off, and then if anybody's got anything you want to put your hand up and come in and ask. James, I was just interested in particularly those last slides when you're talking about all those different markets, how varied a strategy you would need for your kind of e-commerce when you were thinking about different markets, because you talked about Latvia, India, some of those kind of Malaysia, those countries in the Far East. So would a business need a different strategy for many different markets?
I'd say of all those markets, there are many that are accessible through cross-border e-commerce. It depends on the type of business you are. Some businesses will go for direct distribution relationships, and that's suited more so for certain industries. more and more so, companies are adapting to cross-border methods. So they might even have direct selling methods from the UK as well. I mean, direct to consumer models, if you're looking at kind of shipping products one by one, it's your logistic time frame is going to be quite long to some of those markets. So, you know, looking at China, you're looking at around about 30 days minimum if you're shipping products one by one. So that means that as an e-commerce business, you would really want to develop a connection in that market, you know, to have a kind of a cross-border method where you'd ship products out in bulk and then supply people, you know, as they order off e-commerce sites based in the marketplace. So yeah, it does really depend. I mean, you know, it depends on your overall strategy and how you're selling your products as well. Some people sell on Amazon, some people sell on eBay, some people have their own websites where they're selling globally as well. You know, and so it could be a mix of different methods for different businesses and different types of e-commerce businesses as well. But yeah, you know, it could be as simple as allowing different currency methods and working with a supplier or a logistics supplier who can ship globally from your website. You know, that could be a good place to start. You know, and maybe once you hit a certain level, then you develop an in-market relationship. So yeah, there's lots of different solutions out there.
I'm thinking about Brexit and how that might be impacting what people are thinking about. You know, are you seeing? I think we are beginning to see people say, well, you know, because of the uncertainty of Brexit, I'm going to explore other markets because, you know, it feels like that's a bit more easy for me to get my head around. And then, of course, then you bring in the trade negotiations and things like, you know, the US trade deal and all of these other discussions that are going on. So I was just interested in, are you beginning to see people come to you and say, you know, Brexit is one thing, but let's look at other markets? And are you getting people that are saying, we can't really think about that market until those trade negotiations are done and dusted and we kind of know what we're dealing with?
I think we're, from our perspective, we're over the COVID-19, I think, and the pandemic seem to take precedence over everything else this year. So, you know, as we found as we went into lockdown, people were more locally focused, and we saw a lot of D2C campaigns from you know, e-commerce businesses based in the UK as well. From our perspective, it seems to be opening up more, so people are more willing to have international conversations again, whereas it kind of went to a sort of cocoon mode during the initial lockdown, and now you know, even we're taking part in a trade mission to Shandong with the Scottish Chamber of Commerce region at the moment. So that's you know, there's a lot of virtual trade missions happening, a lot of businesses involved in that. I think there's over 30 Scottish businesses involved. I think I haven't heard much with regards to Brexit, you know, and that's really been probably due to the fact that no one really knows what's going to happen. So, but I've heard some positive things as well about Brexit. Some companies looking to set up operations in the EU, you know, and really start preparing for what's going to happen. But yeah, I guess COVID-19 seems to have overshadowed everything and really determined many of the strategies that people are following as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. I think we're definitely seeing that. The international businesses that have already got an international position are kind of looking at new markets, and others are still feeling their way a little bit. But yeah, one thing I thought it would be useful just to pick up on, you talked a little bit about customs declarations, and that's something that we've been preparing for as a chamber network. So through the British Chambers of Commerce, there is a service called Chamber Customs, and we've been training customs officers internally in our team to offer a customs declaration service, which should launch in the new year. And that will cover imports and exports. So, you know, I can only imagine that will become something that people will be really keen to connect with us about, although many businesses are actually training their own internal resource to kind of do customs declarations. But there is an awful lot, I think, to kind of still uncover about Brexit, and you know, and that's just going to, I think the next few weeks will certainly bring news and developments. But we have an export documentation service, and that is ready for 1st of January as we look at the origin of goods, because the origin of goods will then become UK rather than European Community. So you know, there's an awful lot of preparation going on in the background. As part of our own international services, we've already this year run 2 virtual trade missions, one with Scottish companies looking to trade in Dubai, and then the other one was the other way around, where we had Indian companies from Chennai in the south of India take part in a virtual mission to learn more about Dundee, and Scottish businesses and how they might look at investing here, particularly looking at MSIP and what's happening you know, in the city of Dundee itself. So I think we're all in the same position where we're all, you know, doing things virtually and kind of needing to kind of get used to that. But I think, you know, we've all got very used to it. In fact, you know, you kind of sometimes you do get that little bit of virtual online fatigue. But I just want to kind of just finish off, if there are no more questions, and just say a massive thank you to James, and just give a bit of a kind of a heads up on some of the other things that we've got coming up in the next, well, I was going to say the next couple of weeks, but it feels like the next couple of days. There's lots going on, but from an e-commerce point of view, along with the local authority in Dundee, we have launched a platform called Love Dundee Local, which is a step towards e-commerce for some businesses that may not be already doing that in their own right at the moment. So it's a collective app where you know, there'll be a number of Dundee businesses. You'll be able to go in there and do all your local shopping and support local businesses. But I talked about the intellectual property event that we're doing to kind of round off our Brexit series. So that's the 24th of November. But we've also then, on the international side of things, got a couple of webinars about doing business in overseas markets. So we, as James said, we have got a connection with a Swedish Chamber of Commerce, and also we've got relationships with a couple of organisations in the Netherlands. So we're doing, on the 25th of November, we've got a webinar about doing business in the Netherlands, and that is a precursor to our virtual trade mission, which will happen in the new year. So that Netherlands webinar and work is focused around Rotterdam. It's got a circular economy theme to it. So there's an awful lot of circular businesses in that part of the world, but also the port of Rotterdam and kind of maritime industry is just phenomenally important to that part of the world. And we know that there'll be lots of opportunities to connect with companies that are there, that are doing business in and around Rotterdam. And that gives you then a kind of a portal into the whole of the EU. We've then got another webinar about overseas trade, and it's doing business in Virginia, and that's on the 1st of December. And again, that's a precursor to a virtual trade mission that we'll do. Dundee is twinned with the city of Alexandria, which sits just outside of Washington, but the whole of Virginia's got some really interesting sectors that fit phenomenally well with Scotland, from you know, the fact that Amazon have got their second US headquarters there and are creating something like 65,000 tech jobs around Virginia. From, you know, there's renewable energy there, there's biomedical science, all sorts of sectors that just fit really, really well with what we're trying to do and what Scottish businesses are trying to take out to the rest of the world. So lots of things to kind of connect with, lots of markets to go off and find all these new customers for you. So I'd urge you to take part in some of our activity. Just thank yous really from me then. Thank you again to James for coming in and just giving us a smidgen, I think, of the kind of knowledge that you've got about e-commerce. So I would definitely encourage you to catch up with James and have a look at the other sessions that he might be running. I know that they're always really popular, and I know that he would be quite happy to have a chat with you one-to-one as well if you needed to find out a wee bit more. Thanks to Lauren and to Business Gateway and to Sarah for getting us all organised and making sure that we're recording, and this will go out on YouTube, so it's there for other people to take part in and kind of you know, just getting the chance to learn a little bit more about Brexit and the work that we were doing in the run up to it. So thanks very much, folks. I'm glad you gave up your Tuesday evening to join us, and I look forward to seeing you in another session. Thank you. Thanks, folks.